Ronald J. Fenolia, 9/28/23. Born in Louisville, Colorado. I grew up in Louisville, graduated from high school there, went to Colorado A&M, and that's where I was on December the 7th, 41. You know, a fella come up to me on December the 7th. He said, "Where were you on December the 7th, 41?" And I said, "Well, I was just coming home from school." I said, "Where were you?" He said, "Hell, I wasn't even born then." I was drafted from Boulder County and the Boulder County contingency. We went to Fort Logan, and from Fort Logan we went into interview, and as a result, I was placed in the artillery since I had a year of ROTC, and from there we went to Camp Roberts, California. Several of my cohorts went with me to Camp Roberts, California also, but they went to the infantry instead, and I went to the field artillery. After Camp Roberts, went to Fort Leonard Wood. And we spent the winter there at Fort Leonard Wood, and I kind of difficult for me to remember. We went through training, and as a result of advertisements coming out through the military, there was a brochure come out to fly in the Air Corps. So I applied for and was accepted for pilot's training. From there they sent me to Keesler Field, Mississippi. I wasn't there 6 weeks, and they said they had a rush for ground forces, and they sent me right back to my outfit. So back to 754th. We went to on a troop train to New York and boarded one of the British luxury liners at New York Harbor. I had a tendency to get seasick anyway. The first day we got on at New York Harbor at 8 o'clock in the morning. 10 o'clock, that ship was listing like that. 10 o'clock in the morning, I was in the infirmary. But 2 days later, I was all right. We went into a convoy and went overseas, and we landed at Liverpool and went straight across Liverpool to Southampton. When we crossed the English Channel, they said, "Here is a new development. They call it Dramamine. Take it, and that'll keep you from getting nauseated." It didn't work. We boarded an LST and went to Utah Beach. Went in on Utah Beach. This was in approximately in August. If you remember, D-Day was in June, so we didn't get in on the invasion. From there, we deployed, and our first action was near the Brest Peninsula, if you know where Brest is. They had a group of Germans that were isolated, and we were called to fire upon them and until they surrendered. When they surrendered, we went back into the line. Now, see, the 754th was in the 16th Corps. We weren't assigned to any division, but they moved us where they needed us, and we fought behind the 35th, the 29th, the 106th and the British. We were adjacent to the British. Went through St. Lo. Have you ever heard of St. Lo? And then up through Belgium, and we got antsy and took off on our own, and hell, we got ahead of the damn troops. We were the first ones in Luxembourg. I was with a forward observer team. I was a corporal. You get out and spot the enemy, and then either wire it back or radio back their location and call fire. We were right on top of them. Would you say 50 yards? Now, this wasn't all the time, but sometimes. Now, one night we were on a coal dump. This was the refuse from an old coal mine, and it had elevation, and we were up on top. And they came right to the bottom there, and they were close. We had glasses, we had BC scopes, we had the Jeep and everything. Battery commander scope, it's a big two-powered scope, about 15 or 20 power, that you can really see out into the field of vision. I saw old General Brown come out there one time with us and wanted to see what the hell was going on, and he came through and took a look at the BC scope and turned around, went back. We had carbines, M1s, and we had 45s, whichever we chose. I usually carried an M1. We usually had at least 4 of it that went out, sometimes just 3. And of course, we had to be awful careful. When we went out, we didn't want to make any noise or anything. A lot of times we traveled in the middle of the night too, and you try driving in the middle of the night, it's a little difficult. Traveled primarily by Jeep. We used maps to find the locations. Sometimes we read the maps in error and went beyond our locations. And then other times we were right there. Usually they had the highest observation tower scouted, and this is where they put us. We had to have a good field of vision. We had ammunition, yeah. We took it with us. We didn't have any shortage of ammunition. As long as I was there. So we, any type of firing, when we tried to get the intersections of the highways where the trucks were crossing, where we could see them, and fire on them, that was hit and miss. But it's primarily troop and vehicles. But one day we had an advance of tanks, and we called the whole battalion fire. And we stopped the tanks. They turned around, went back. Soldiers, we could see where they were grouped up, and we watched one day where we saw them come out of the woods there, and we counted 17 of them going to this farmhouse. So we called fire on it. That was war. I mean, yeah, they had to clear the way. And we didn't know this. They were probing to see where the lines were the weakest. And then come December the 15th, they hit right in between our outfit and the 755th. They had already evacuated Luxembourg. We, again, set up our guns and had our first firing around what they call the Hurtgen Forest. And proceeded and then kept on going till we got to Aachen. You ever hear of Aachen? We flattened Aachen. We just flattened it, literally. Boom. It wasn't there anymore. Then when we moved up to the Roar River, I did see our own Air Force bomb our own troops once, so. And that was on the Roar River, and they just got their coordinates all mixed up. We were more or less stable there for a little while, and it was just, search and go, search and go. We'd run into their patrols, and they'd run into ours. And we had observation posts on coal dumps, in churches, on water towers, and anywhere where we had a good field of observation. Now, we had several of our fellows that were interested in photography, and we picked up cameras, and they picked up the developing fluid and solution, and we developed our own pictures. There's times that we were out of food too. The first time was when we landed at Liverpool, and they didn't have any supplies for us. We traveled across England, and the convoy stopped by a potato patch, and you should have seen the GIs go out and eat raw potatoes. It was food. There for a while, we were one spot for 3 weeks, and we liberated a Holstein cow and had milk. We had fresh milk. And the first thing we'd get into town is why we'd head for chicken coops and get the chicken and the eggs. It was different food than what we had. Then again, I never laughed so much in all my life as on the Moselle. These little French boys and get a stick and a string and a bent pin and put a housefly on it, throw it out there, and catch these little sardines like that. Put them in and just yak them. It was fun watching them. The French people that we run across primarily were rural. I remember when we got into Utah Beach and further inland, and we went hunting in the hedgerows. Now the hedgerows there had nice big blueberries, but they also were full of escargot, if you know what escargot is, yeah. And we'd get escargot by the pails full, and we'd purge them and clean them, and really clean them good. Then we'd go to the French farmhouses and buy butter from them, and we'd take a canteen cup and just deep fry the escargot in butter. Oh, that's delicious. And have a loaf of bread with it too. We killed a nice big hog and made an open fire spit with charcoal and had him cooking. And he wasn't quite done, and it was come night, and we just let him go. That was a mistake. They saw the light, the fire. They called fire on us. We put it out quick. Well, it got a little warm at times, and November the 30th, we were in a 3-story house, and we got a direct hit. Legs, shrapnel, my head, and that's part of my trouble in walking right now. I can't walk because of that. If I go 100 yards, I'm done. I can't even go 100 yards. I'll get up to, the furthest I walk is we'll go up to Black Hawk, and I'll walk from the car up to the poker room, and that's it. I was awarded the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. My best buddy was killed right next to me. He's still over there. We went in together at Camp Roberts, and I took the bottom bunk and he took the top bunk, and we stayed there all the way through, up to Fort Leonard Wood, then on to and overseas. One of our members went back this last fall, and they went to the Flanders Field there in Belgium. He's buried in Belgium yet, and he's still there. We held out for 4 days before they got us out of there. And did you ever see Seeing Private Ryan? You see the guys up in the church when they come? That's just what happened to us. They just blasted us and flattened us. Yes, and 3 of our other buddies were wounded. Once you see something like that, you get a little hardened. Yeah, and it's easier to shoot the enemy than have your own troops shot. I mean, and we've had some of that too. There were several other casualties in our outfit, but most of them from artillery fire, no sniper fire. Well, we had snipers, yeah, but we were lucky enough not to get hit. We were hit artillery several times, yeah. In fact, one night they hit the 3 of the guns in C battery, and ruined the guns and killed some people, yeah. I spent the next 2.5 months in the hospital. First they shipped us off to Liège. Have you ever heard of Liège? They gave us liberation medals there too. When they took me out of there, they doped me up so much I didn't know what was going on. I was full of, well, it was morphine. And I woke up and it was a tent hospital in Liège. And right about that time, they had the buzz bombs. And a buzz bomb came down and hit part of the tent hospital. And so they called for immediate evacuation, and that's when we went into the hospital in Paris. But we didn't stay there long either. They put us on a boat, and we went back into to Bournemouth. The doctors took very good care. The nurses did too, but I couldn't walk very good then, and I had difficulty walking. They served us in with trays in bed, and up until the time we got to the place where we were a little ambulatory. And I think really they shipped me home or back a little too soon because I wasn't in full leg strength. The rule was if you were in the hospital for 3 months, you got to go home. 2 months and 26 days they let me. They needed troops, yeah. Experience helped, yeah. But there was a lot of recruits or rookies coming in too, but they still needed recruits and troops. There were some days of rain and some days of mud in November. Some days in November, I mean, the mud was knee deep and we didn't have any overshoes at the time. I got trench foot too, so. Then finally, after I got hit, the outfit got overshoes. All Bastogne was hit hard. We took Bastogne the first time through and then had to go back again. Our sister battalion was the 755th field, and we were the 754th. And what they were doing then, they were probing. They were probing for the bulge. And I was lucky to be out of there. I was in Liège when the bulge started, December the 15th. And they got us out of there on a troop train and took us into Paris. I couldn't walk, and they really split us in two, and they annihilated the 755th. I mean, they just slaughtered them. And our outfit was lucky. They got just put off to the side and into Bastogne. The 755th, I've got an article on it, and I don't know where it is. After we were bisected, they got into a big mess, and I think they captured over 100 Germans that were fighting in the Battle of the Bulge there. In England, we'd get the Stars and Stripes, and we could fairly figure out just what was going on where, and just about where our outfit was. And after the hospital, I went back. They got us back into the line there, and we crossed. We went through several field positions, Linnich and Jülich, and you don't know those are German towns. The Battle of Jülich was rough. I can remember one time we were in, this was in Germany when a big truck pulled out into the middle of a field, and we tried to call and get coordinates on it. But before we could call and get the coordinates on it, they had these missiles, and they fired the whole round, and the truck pulled out. They were gone again. The German soldier, you had to give him much respect. They were hardened, and they were real soldiers, and they had to have your respect. Of course, you didn't want to let them get away with anything, but you had to just treat them just exactly like the enemy, and they were the enemy. Then we crossed the Rhine. We went across in a weasel. It's a jeep, more or less, that's amphibious. And we got up there ahead of them, and the battery and the display of the Rhine crossing was something that you'll never forget. For 3 days, it was continuous bombardment, daytime at night and nighttime at day. The sky was lit up from the gun blasts. And then when we got over there, we saw the results. It was effective, very effective. When we were on the Rhine there in the beer gardens too, we found a whole case of Johnny Walker once in Rheinberg journey. Would you imagine Johnny Walker's in Rheinberg? And we could see the Germans way in the distance in the cathedral at Cologne, and they wouldn't let us shoot the cathedral because of historic reasons. You don't understand them. I guess the top brass does. Felt handicapped and frustrated. They were shooting at us, and we couldn't shoot back. Cologne was a beautiful city anyway, and well, it just didn't happen. They just didn't let us take after it. We could have blasted it. We could have flattened it just like we did Aachen. We went back 2 years ago, and we saw the cathedral there again, and it's a beautiful place. The last firing that we had was in Essen at the Krupp's factory. And it was at that time, that was in April, we got word of the president's death, if you remember. And shortly after that, it was over for us. We then got together and we convoyed all the way to through Munich down to Salzburg and into a little town called Egerding in Austria, just a little rural community on the Inn River. And that's where we were. On our way through, we stayed at a town called Höxter. And then we went to the death camps there. And And that was something else that was, it was all finished by then, but there were still some Jews around. I mean, they were nothing but skin and bones, and then you could see the remnants of the carcasses and so forth. There was quite a few. I mean, hell, there was 500-600 or more. And the U.S. Was providing food for them. And I don't know how they handled their evacuation, but they did. We had no idea at all. But we learned quick. They were calm. We were calm. I mean, it was over prior to the armistice. I was fortunate enough to get a pass, 4-day pass into Paris, and they got us into a plane, a B-17 at Salzburg, and flew us into Paris. And right while we were in Paris, they declared the armistice, and they automatically extended 4 days on the leave. I've never seen anything like that. The people were shoulder to shoulder. It was worse than the shopping crowd down at the but they passed out champagne by the case. We were at the Champs-Élysées, and there were GIs, and there were Frenchmen, there were everything there, and it was one celebration. I'm not proud of this, but we went fishing after the war in the Seine up there with hand grenades. And threw the hand grenades in, and damn, we caught some nice fish like that. Then got them out of there and traded it for Hennessy. French like the fish, we like their Hennessy. It was productive. We got home on Christmas Day at Camp Miles Standish in Boston. A bunch of whacks were out giving us Christmas carols. I think they had a party the night before. And it was snowing, and we were on an LST, if you know what an LST is. And the snow was sticking to the cables. And I'll tell you, I had a worse time on that LST than I did in the whole time of the war over there, getting seasick. Well, we landed at Camp Miles Standish there in Boston, came straight back to Fort Logan. Well, I started in the fall of '41, and then went into the service, then come back in '46, and graduated in, see that cup up there? It says 50. I graduated from Colorado, still Colorado A&M, yeah. I majored in agriculture and agricultural economics, and then I went into lending and got some banking at the University of Oklahoma, and I worked 35 years for the Farmers Home Administration. I started out at Montrose, Colorado, and then moved to Las Animas, worked at Ray, Greeley, Arvada, and then the Denver office, which is from the time on here. First, we started out with farm loans, both operating in real estate, and then we went into a little diversification of everything, housing, rural housing, and then business. I ended up as chief of business and industry. And well, I guess, I don't know whether I'm proud of this or not, that I was involved in the financing of Copper Mountain and Beaver Creek. And look at the crowd and the people that it's caused here, and the congestion in the state. I'm not an advocate of growth in that respect. I really am not. I mean, there's too many people. You take your life in your own hands anymore when you go out on the highway. Some of these drivers are nuts. They're crazy. They're out of this world. My wife is scared to death to drive, and she does most of the driving anymore. Those loans are pretty good sized loans. They're all paid off now, I'm sure of that. And then we built a lot of commercial institutions throughout the state, like businesses, hotels, motels, even financed the outfit that the breathalyzer, and or just various commercial loans. I don't know. We put in over 130 million a year. Guaranteed loans now. The bank had put up the money, we'd guarantee them. Because there was a shortage of money at the time, and they could market 90% of their notes. So that'd put the money right back into the banks again. The first house I bought in Broomfield was in November of '54. Well, I would have moved to Louisville, but they didn't have financing over there. See, my family's old-time pioneers in Louisville. And like I say, we had the farm down here, and then a farm out there on 120th Street. I'm a real advocate of city and county of Broomfield. I think it's the best thing that happened. We've taken too damn much hogwash off of the Boulder County. I've been here too damn long, I know. Damn city and county screwed us out of it, though, too. They put that moratorium, 20-year moratorium on there, and they said, if you're going to sell, you're going to sell to us and nobody else. And you know what's going right through the middle of it? The Northwest Passage. It's in 1994 that he said, wait till we get this thing settled and we'll get you incorporated in the city limits. And then they went and moved in and went hand in hand with the county on that 20-year deal there. My job required quite a bit of travel, so I couldn't get involved. But all my 3 kids graduated from Broomfield High, and I married Peg, and she had 5, and 3 of her kids graduated from Broomfield here. We still get together. In fact, one of them called me the day before yesterday from Gate City, Virginia. Wished us a Merry Christmas and all that nice stuff. One individual from B Battery, he was the executive officer, and he stimulated B Battery to a reunion, and that was in '84. Then '85, the whole works came. They just got together and they sent out a bunch of letters, and we were playing detectives for a while, trying to find people, and we found a lot of them. A lot of them we still haven't found, but we found the majority of them. And but there are people from all over the country, California. Yeah, we had one at San Diego too. That's a nice place down there. But it was just a matter of search and find and communicate. We started our first reunion in '85, and I've been to every one except one 3 years ago at Nashville. And we've been all over the country. We've been to Pittsburgh and Chicago and Detroit and Reno, Nashville once before, and Denver. I hosted one here in Denver, and then one at Albuquerque, and then one at Wichita, and several places. But I've got a portfolio of pictures in there that must weigh 20 pounds from the different reunions. But every year there's 1 or 2 more that drop out. You don't see them anymore. Like this fellow from Gate City, Virginia, then another fellow from New York, on the island there. I can't remember the town, Hackensack, or not Hackensack. Well, anyway, and then there's another one from Ohio, Cayuga Falls that didn't come this year because he had reservations and he canceled them because of September 11th. We had a few that didn't come because of the September 11th fiasco. It came totally as a surprise. It hit me all at once. You know, my wife and I go up to Black Hawk every now and then. I like to play poker. And we had gone up there, and we hadn't heard anything, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. I sat down at the poker table, and I saw this airplane come and hit the building there. And I, what the hell's going on? Then I just didn't know, and I just listened to the conversation. Finally, I pieced it together, and it was a mixed reaction. I didn't know what the hell was going on. There was much more of a surprise on September the 11th than there was on December the 7th, because we heard the president come over and make his announcement that Pearl Harbor was attacked, and he was going to get Congress together to declare an act of war. September the 7th, or September the 11th, it already had happened. And, well, it was a national disaster. It was a catastrophe. I'm really surprised, though, that the limited number of casualties that, as a result of Afghanistan, that is surprising. Of course, maybe the Northern Alliance has taken care of that.